At first, I think I'm gonna say welcome to the artist talk of TEL. It's a Thai arts initiative in London. We have been kind of trying to make an exhibition of Thai artists and maybe a network of Thais and artists, as well as maybe more like filmmaker and curator and etc. here in London. And this is the second exhibition that we did. So my name is Vipash Purichanont. I'm gonna moderate this artist talk today, but the curator, her name is Suwanna, and then unfortunately that she needs to move back to Thailand urgently because there's visa problems. So we'll try to do my best to maybe talk about these exhibitions and how the artists in the exhibition maybe talks more about the exhibition and also their work as well. It's part of the Pasamalam, right? For the whole 1 week exhibition and screening that happened here, organized by the Southeast Asian Art Festival, the first time here in London. And I think maybe I should talk about like exhibition first. So the exhibition itself actually called Goes Now Here. I always say God Nowhere. And then it's kind of like the exhibition that try to maybe playing with the whole idea of spirits, ghosts, and the absence, and the locality of belief and rituals that happen in Thailand that doesn't really translate it here in the Western culture. And then maybe the artists here might be able to talk about that idea more. Let's introduce all of them. First is Kun Ploy, Kanitta Meechubot, here. And so the mic is over there. Can I have it? But I just gonna say the names to everyone. She's an illustrator, basically, and then work based here in London. She's going to go back. She just graduated from. She received her MA in communication design at Central St. Martin's School of Art. And nearby is Suwanna Promtangtrakul. Yeah, she's doing MA right now in performance making. Yeah, but she's also work as an art administration as well, and then also doing a lot of performance, like more like a experimental performance. Yeah, and another one is photographer here. His name is Virunan Chiddaycha. Okay, yeah. He's a photographer based here, but also the editor of the magazine here in Thailand, the magazine called Thai Smile. Yeah. And nearby is Naurarat, Suksomstarn. Yeah, Nora, right? Yeah, she's a MA. She received her MA in fashion photography in London College of Fashions. Yeah, but right now also working at not only the fashion photographer, but also trying to explore more on kind of like conceptual work as well. Yeah, and the last gentleman, Nguan, Phornthep, Permsubhirunya. Okay. He studied BA, actually only BA in Fine Art at Chelsea College of Art and Design. So this is the artists who have work featured here. Maybe I start with Thor first, with maybe talks a little bit before we get into something more cultural specific. Maybe we can talk about something that we had conversation before. He was trying to maybe when we first trying to like having these exhibitions, and then he was trying to think about the whole idea of like how people experience ghosts and spirituality here in Thailand as well as here as well, he's trying to maybe think about the way in which photography actually helping it.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk about your idea.
Yeah, actually, well, when I spoke to you before, we came up with the project. I mean, the whole project about this exhibition. So we start to talk about my past experience with this ghost, with this spiritual world, and I told him that I told you, right, I got the experience about I actually capture the something some supernatural phenomenon on my cell phone once in my past. So I told you about my past experience. So and I'm also a photographer. So this began the idea of oh, okay, why not? Why I just try to capture the ghost by using my camera again. So yeah, that's how it begins. And then what is gonna be in my photograph. So I try to think about the way that we believe in Thailand, in Thai culture, the way they believe that we could see ghosts. We talk about a ritual and ritual of what? Ritual of, a ritual of calling for the spiritual world to come back, to get in touch with us again. I think it sounds very strange, very odd, but yeah. But so I try to gathering all of the information that I could on internet, ask somebody, ask friends, and who got the knowledge about this, and I figure out 10 ways, 10 easy way to that we believe that we could see ghosts in Thailand, and I applied it, and I did it here in London because I think all of you guys know that London is is one of the is well recognized as one of the most haunted city in the world. Yeah. So I think the way that it's very interesting to see actually I had a question about are we haunted by the same thing or not?
Mm-hmm.
If we do, so I mean if we are, so the way that we believe that we could see ghosts in Thailand, when we do it here, we could get the same result. So yeah, that's why.
How it's maybe translate here, how that creature or maybe the ritual can make you visible. You can see ghosts here, but maybe talk to us more. Maybe tell us more about maybe a few example of that 10 ways, and then how you do it here. What is the location, and then what is the result?
Okay, actually I travel around London, but as you see, from my work, I didn't capture any unexpected thing. No, actually, I expect that, but I couldn't say it, unfortunately. But yeah, but we had some, I had some very odd experience while I was doing those things as well. For example, when I asked, because yeah, you see, actually, it's not only a photograph that I did. It's more like an installation and also video. It's kind of mixed media as well. So. Because I did them separately. I mean the video and the photograph, because I just want to make sure that when I photograph everything is I did some ritual calling for the spirit for real. If we have a lot of people, the spirit wouldn't come. Yeah, that's what I believe, and I was told by. So yeah, for example, I give you some example about my work. I asked one of my friend to brushing her hair in front of the mirror at the midnight. At that time, there was something very odd, because off the cell phone, I mean my cell phone, and some of another cell phone was suddenly out of order at some point. But after the ritual, I mean after the practice, it's turn up again. So
So you believe that?
I do believe that, because yeah, I got it on my cell phone once in the past time.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. But yeah, the thing that I just had when when I did this practice, I mean, it's something that I couldn't explain. I couldn't say oh yeah, someone was there or not.
Yeah.
It just happened to, you know.
But maybe I'm thinking of like maybe it doesn't translate it well in the location as well. Are you considering maybe doing it in Thailand and then another way around, which is maybe finding the way in which British people maybe have this kind of means to that visibility?
Interesting question. Actually, I mean, like, about the location, because actually, like, there was one way, like, raise up the umbrella indoor, you know, because I know, like, some of the British people came to talk to me and say that, like, oh, we are not allowed to do that in British as well. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, like, maybe your parents told you about this. So, like, it's kind of, you know, and I mean, I didn't know that before. Like, when I realized, oh, because some, like, a kind of shared belief and experience about this as well. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, why I'm doing this. I mean, like, it's more like a very experimental project. So, like, even like I'm exhibiting it here, I still experiment, like, you know, those 10 way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I am still studying the culture and you know, the belief of British people comparing to Thai people. Yeah.
Yeah. I just maybe gonna switch. We're still in the photography as well, but maybe to Nora about the whole idea of we in Viruna we're trying to see ghosts as kind of alienate to us. So someone is not relate to us. But your works were talking specifically about photography and kind of like a dead photograph, let's say that way, and then the relationship between you and maybe not the ghost but the dead. So maybe you can articulate that to us.
So basically, my work is based on my family, the family members that has deceased, and first that when Miss Supapan approached me about this project and said we have a ghost theme, that I want you to kind of think about something to produce within the theme, and then I've heard that you were doing like kind of 10 ways of seeing ghosts or something, like going around like locations that is well known of like that ghost to be seen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, to be honest, I'm not too sure if I believe in the other world or any spirits or not, but I know that since I've grown up, my mom always asked me to, because I've always like traveled a lot and I don't really live at home. So every time if I go home, Mom would always say, oh, because at our house we have like a little room full of Buddha, because my mom is like really, like she's religious, and then she would put up all of the family members who's passed away, like a portrait of their funeral in that room, and then and then she would always say, like, can you go and tell Grandpa that you're back, or you know, like tell him what you're doing, and of course pray to the Buddha as well. But I find myself not praying to the Buddha because I'm not that religious. I don't know what I am, but you know, I'm kind of still experiencing that. but I always find myself automatically talking to my granddad and my grandma and everyone. Like I would just talk to them as in like, hi granddad, you know, I'm back, or I'm leaving now, can you look after mom, or you know, look after the house, blah, blah, blah. I always do that. So I thought, ghost, I think, I don't know if I believe it or not, but I don't really want to see one, and I think I would be pretty scared if I see one. So I don't want to do something that is going to scare me, of course, right? So I thought, how about something personal to me? What other spirits is here, like, that exists or not, that I won't be too afraid to work with? So I thought, oh, why not like do this, you know, about my family who has passed away. And one other thing is that I decided to do this is because most of them, when they passed away, I don't get a chance to be there. I never was there. I'm always away, you know. I've never been to their funerals. And like the recent one that just passed away is my uncle. He just passed away like 2 months ago. Unfortunately, I was here, you know. So it's kind of like a re-mourn thing that I'm doing for them, to kind of, you know, keep hold of that fading memories, because that's what I see when you say ghost. It's like it's
Right.
an absent, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something that you forget or you don't see, you don't know. So
But
I'm
still
just
present in a
yeah,
way
it is.
to you.
So I mean, people move on. People forget. Like people would be sad for a little while, and then they would just have to move on. So I would just like to, you know, kind of bring back all those memories again, because when I was doing it, I kind of makes me think about it a lot, and it's very personal as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And how is the difference between you sent me the link actually of your works in
Right.
photography in like a fashion photography,
Fashion,
and then
yeah.
how does it translate as well? Maybe there should be some change between doing that kind of photography and maybe thinking about this way in which you work for us. Yeah.
Yeah, normally I do fashion as well, because that's like, well, to be honest, that's where I get money, right? Commercial stuff. But this art thing, I've been doing it before, as in like I had a solo show before I came over. So it is different, and it's not because aesthetically there's like beauty in it in a way, right? But with like conceptual art, I mean, like, say if you guys are all not here to listen to me talk about my work, you would just look at the pictures and you're like, who's this? What's the connection to this, and what is this? But within fashion photography, because it's beauty, isn't it? You see it and say, wow, amazing, Yeah, but I think the meaning behind all those things are kind of, it's not very different, as in like it means something to someone, But with this kind of artwork, you kind of have to try and just look and think. You get to think more, and it makes me think more. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing
Right.
this.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move on. Thank you though.
Thanks.
The similar way in which I actually, because I first see all the works that we selected by Superpon actually last week when we installed it, and then another thing that popped up and struck me is actually the connection is when we thought about like a ghost exhibition, I never really think about the relationship that intimate like your works, and also the another one that's come up is actually Kanitta works. That's also translate this kind of relationship of
Personal,
you
yeah.
and the person who's already gone. So maybe you can talk about your work in that way first, and then maybe coming up with techniques later on.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to remind you which one is my work. My work is upstairs, with the juxtaposition of the two people portrait, and there's hand cutting paper, and it's I got this artwork. I did it during my MA, because I have an emotional attach with my grandparents. I have been an eyewitness during the times that my grandpa took care of my grandma when she battling with the womb cancer. So after she passing away, it's kind of I still took care of my grandpas, and I think she still around. I mean, like, even I talk to my grandpas, and he just like, yeah, I dream about her, and so it's kind of like I still there's a connection between them, even she might be in another world. So some might believe that. So I create this work by using the negative photograph of my grandma to represent that she kind of not here, and the pictures of my grandpa like beside, and cut the shape of the tree, like to integrate them together, because after I have interesting in the kind of cancel pictures like inside human bodies. So I found the similar shape and form of the trees and the nerve and veins inside like human bodies. They have like super like similar. The way they grow, especially is like in our brain. If you can see, if you go to the Hunter Museum, you can see like it's the branches of the trees, and that's where the memory is engraving. It's kind of people might be away, but they're still here.
So to speak, that maybe this work, you can say that this work actually informed other works that you have been doing, which is so connected between trying to explore this idea of body and trees. In that way. Okay. Yeah. Maybe can you talk? I think it was interesting. Maybe you can articulate it more about the body and tree itself, the human body and tree itself more for us, and then maybe how you use your own techniques. Because the one that we see here is actually exhibition prints, right? So, but you have your own another authentic one that you handed cut it. Yeah, maybe tell us more about those experiences.
I always using some hand cutting paper, like on a photograph, on like any kind of the paper. Many people just say that, why don't you use a laser cut or thing like that? For me, it's not that easy, because the interesting thing is the process that I make, the at the moment that I make the work, is kind of a spontaneously making the work. I think during I cut, so it's not just the finishing work. So the process, and it's spontaneously thinking about what I'm doing just in the moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
We just move to maybe someone who works a little bit quite different, because you're working with a lot of like crafty kind of skill, and Nguan works a lot. Your work deals a lot with installations. I mean, you have been using. This is like the second time that we have exhibition, and then you have been using like objects that come from Thailand, but the way in which you translate the work and then talk to people was quite different than talking about culture. So maybe you can talk about the process of your working with found object first.
Well, because I go back to Thailand quite a lot in a year, so I like to compare myself while I'm living here and while I'm living in Thailand. What is the difference between, according to the context of Thailand and in the UK? So this summer, while I was in Bangkok, I found this interesting elements that people usually see it in a shy in Bangkok or around the country of Thailand. As you can see, the elements that I put at the backyard, there is a lot of them was the elements that people usually saw it in a shy in Bangkok. So I'm just wondering what happened if I bring these objects and I display it here, and people in the UK that have a different kind of experience from the people in Bangkok, what are they gonna react to the environment like this? Because in Thailand, people will respect, admire an element like this because is talk about the spiritual stuff, talk about God, talk about all that stuff. So I just want to know the reactions of British people here. But on the open day, it was quite interesting because there is Malaysian people doing
Malaysian food festival,
Malaysian food festival happening
food
there,
street.
at the backyard, and some
Yeah.
people are making a barbecue there. So my
That's
my
cafe.
yeah, so my work becomes a decorative art that yeah, that harder than what I expected, and what's surprising me more is that at night, at the open day, when people are like having a beer, there's like some Thai guys who moves my work around, because I put some elements on a chair, and there's like one guy who sit on the chair. So it's made me so surprised, because I'm just thinking like oh shit, if he sees something like this in Bangkok or Thailand, are he gonna still doing something like this? Because in our home country we are very respect to something like this. So I think the context is very interesting
Or
for me to.
he kind of maybe already knows that it's artwork, not the actual
It is.
ornaments.
It could be so, but it's still an interesting question to me to think
Yeah,
about, and
right.
and also asking like
Mm,
the viewer like what is that art? Is that doesn't art?
right.
Yeah.
But in the same time, you also have a piece which is a painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is quite connected to the one at the backyard.
Okay.
I didn't do painting for like 2 years, because my tutor at the college encouraged me to do something else apart from painting. So I that's why I'm doing something else like sculpture, installation, something more conceptual.
Hmm.
And this year I think I want to go back to painting, and that piece on the first floor.
Mhm.
It is a question about the negative space on the painting
Mhm,
itself.
mhm.
It's more like an experimental.
Hmm. Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're just going to do the last one before we will open up maybe a floor for other questions. Yeah, but let's maybe talk about it first, because maybe your works is the only work that we cannot see today. Yeah, because it's a performance, and it's also kind of like you call it installation performance, right? And then last week when we install it, you have all the candles here, and then you kind of trying to decorate this work, this place into a state somehow. So tell us more. Maybe tell us more about this part of the process of your work before we go into the performance.
First of all, I have my co-artist who is an art teacher.
Yeah.
And then after we discussed about the themes of the ghost, and then we came up the idea of about the space where we usually have the funerals in Thailand. And he's Muslim, so we have a long discussion between the Buddhism, Muslims, and Christianity. So and there. For the installation part, it's the process of harvests of the performative space that is linked to the rhetoric space or the ceremony space for the funerals in Thailand, and then we come up with the element of the funeral. That's 4 natural elements that we usually use in the funerals, such as fires, water, wind, and also the smoke.
Mm.
Yes.
So it's become more, just
And
to speak universal, the way in which human.
yeah, the way that human decorate on making the funerals or making something that memory to the passing persons or something that invisible. And most of the rhetorics is always connected to these 4 elements. You can't escape this 4 element in your life.
Yeah, and then we'll move to the performance a little bit, because I feel like the performance was quite interesting in a way that when we hear in this setting, we kind of more familiar with life art, the term something like life art and body art or something like that. But what you did is actually very literal, very highly literal actually, because I will have you kind of like inscribe it here or describe it here, but I just say that it's really literal, and then you using a lot of more like a traditional performance elements in the work as well, which different than last time. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I found myself quite surprised myself as well that this work is very more. I more go back to the traditional way of performance. It's happened that we agree that we want to make something rhetoric performance and something that related to the funeral, the falling, and how we see our country at this moment.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So maybe talk about that more, how you see it and how it's come up, because he's an architect, and then he's not perform with you, but he's kind of help with arranging.
Yeah, we haven't discussed over Skype or over phone for a long time before this happened. And unfortunately, on the day that he couldn't be here. So everything kind of like chaos and everything is become there. It makes sense in some sense, and it's quite very, somehow it's linked to my work as well, because my work is talking about invisible. So he become invisible himself as well, but
Yeah.
in some sense himself is still at this present in his installation work. And for the rhetorics, I start from, for those people who didn't come to see the performance on the days, we start from the rhetorics atmosphere that we set off the audience by using the holy thread things. Because in Thai culture, we kind of like, it's a superstitious culture. We believe in everything is superstitious in our culture. Everything is, if you can't experience some things, and then it's become invisible in some sense, and then you say, oh, that's right, because it's superstitious. And that's become our themes for the invisible. And then we start from the incense. Every time, I don't know, in some sense, from my experience, every ceremonies or every rhetorics, I start from the incense and start from the candle, in some sense. And yeah, so that's, and also it's also related to the song that he chanting. One of my co-performers, he chanting the song that is actually, it's an explanation of the dream, that it is superstitious ways of predict the dream, in the sense of like way back 1,000 years ago of the kings, one of the kings. So, and it's also that are still working at this moment in the context of
Okay.
this
Isn't
moment.
that one?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
okay.
one.
All right. I think we talk enough, I guess. I talk enough, actually. Maybe you're open to the audience as well. We have like 15 minutes, I guess. Yeah. If any of you, or even the comments, we love it. Hi, Jing, please.
Yeah, just like to know the content of that poem, of your performance. What was it? Because yeah, I understood the sound in the title, but that's all I know.
Yeah, the content is about actually it's a poem that's talking about the falling of Ayutthaya, which is the nation before the country, before the kingdom.
It's the kingdom.
The
Yeah.
kingdom before it's become Thailand. And actually it's about the prediction of the dream, that 16 predictions of the dream that the king was dreamed. And then there was a, in long time ago, usually in the police or in a very rhetoric way from Hinduism, there was a kind of like the mediums who always translate the dream for the kings, and that's become the, and his predict is about the falling of the nations.
And how did you connect that with your dance?
For my dance, it's more about our I call myself as a contemporary performative dancers, not very traditions. Because in that context, some of the movements, I also still use the Thai dancing movements in mostly in a lot of falling movement and crying movement and soaping movements and falling and the date and the dance also itself I use as some of the material that describe the poems alongside with the movements to express the meaning of the poems. Yes.
Any? Are there any?
It's really interesting because I think just hearing everyone, firstly it's really beautiful, so congratulations, exhibition was really lovely. And I think my mind is just going over like the questions of like what's lost in cross-cultural translation. Because I guess, and I'm also questioning myself because to a certain extent I know, I read the proposals, I know what you're trying to do. But I guess to a certain extent when you were making the work, perhaps you could comment, like how much in your mind were you thinking, were you trying to make work that was going to speak to an audience that you think would know about the work and know about the tradition, or how much did you want it to be a little bit mysterious to somebody who is not from that tradition? Just could you say a little bit more about that?
I think that's goal with everyone.
Well, for myself, I'm always interesting to see the reactions of other people around the world, because I believe that people have different experience. The experience will bring you to see things differently from other people, because no one they're gonna have the same experience. So from different cultures and transition, I think it is very interesting to see the reactions of other people on the other side of the world. And I'm always open for people to think about my own work.
But you haven't had a work in Thailand yet, an exhibition?
No, none.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to add to that, I guess in a way, what I'm actually asking is, because you've used like ornaments that are meant for spiritual
Yeah.
in an artwork,
Uh-huh.
as well as you use
Mhm.
the papers that we burn, which is similar in Chinese culture, and it's actually really beautiful the way you've laid out as if it's an art. It is an artwork, but in a way, if you brought that to Thailand, how do you think like more traditional Thai people would, in a way, encounter that and try and balance that in their minds?
I think even though like very conservative people are still thinking the same, thinking different. Because I was surprised during the day of the performance. One of my friends came to me and say, "Oh, are you doing like the wedding ceremonies?" And I say, "Yeah, it can be. It can be anything." So in some sense, I just because my focus is we're going to make a rhetorics performance. So no matter I want to define my work as whatever it is, but this is my work and this is the combination of the installation work. That's it can be the beginning or it can be the end. It depends on because I believe in the circulation of the work itself. Usually I always working with the elements of the circulation that everything is it can be the beginning and just travel along the process and then it came into the ending and then it start over again. So no matter what element that we use or even though the paper or the instant stick that we use, I think because this is a performative space, so as I think it's become something else. It's become the medium and the material that's used to express.
Maybe that's also go with Nora as well about how your parents actually see it from Facebook and then how they
Yes.
comment on it.
Yes, no, because you know, on the setting day, Tail took like overall pictures of what we've been doing, and there was a picture. Yes, put it on Facebook, and there was a picture of my uncle that he recently passed away, and because his son is not in Thailand, when I went there and asked permission to use all their funeral portraits for this work, so I don't think he knew anything about this, and it was on Facebook. He's in New Zealand at the moment, so he asked me like, "Who is this?" And I said, "Oh, it's your father." And then he just like, "Oh, okay, so what are you doing with my father's picture?" And I just told him, I explained what I was doing. You know, it's kind of a remorn thing, and I wasn't there for his funeral, and we're having this art going on. And then he just said, "Oh no, it's fine. I have no problem with it." But this sentence that he said to me is like, it's just seeing his picture again out of nowhere. It just makes me cry, you know, because it's like connected to, because he just passed away, and he had tried to move on a little bit, and then his dad's face popped up on Facebook, and he's like, is this my dad? You know? Yeah, so it's very personal. And it goes back to this whole theme about cross culture and everything, because this whole theme is about ghosts, now here or nowhere, isn't it? And it's like how each individual kind of interpret the word ghost. I mean, it's different. Like when we're here, hold on. No, like when we're here, we still have amulets and things that we worship, but then sometimes you ask the question like, how should I speak to ghosts in this country? You know, because we took our beliefs from home, but does our ghost that we believe in London, is he English, or what language should we communicate? So it's kind of an interesting question, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, with the I think it really works well with the venue as well, because it's a small little house, and it's like the way the how we kind of try to use the space is kind of, this is a quiet, very small and quiet exhibition, isn't it? It's like you don't put like the artist statement next to the work, because we kind of want the work to speak itself. Like we want the artwork to speak to us, you know, and how each one would feel towards each piece. So yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say that your comment that was really interesting about how the face of your cousin, the picture popped out of nowhere, and it really just made me think of Facebook ghosts in a way, because I actually know two people who have Facebook accounts who are
Passed away. Yes.
and you know, because the account never gets taken down, every now and then, you know, they tell you, have you said hello to this person, or something comes out, and you're like, oh, and you think of that person. It just made me think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, about like things with social network and existence and non-existence that kind of merges into everyday culture. Yeah.
I just briefly like to add to your very interesting comment about cross-cultural translation. One thing that I noticed listening to you as you spoke about your work is that all of you have used this trope in a way of saying, in Thailand we do this, and in Thai culture and in Thai belief and so on and so on. And obviously you are doing this because you're speaking to an audience that you know or assume is not from that context, so there's a certain need for a translation. But how do you as artists now working outside of Thailand, how do you position yourself toward that need to translate? Do you feel that this is something, like, do you embrace this in a way? Do you enjoy the category of being a Thai artist and at the same time having to explain yourself to the foreign audience, but perhaps also seeing this as a kind of creative space where, you can create something unexpected or provoke interesting reactions or responses? Or do you also feel that this is kind of limiting? Do you perhaps feel that as artists you would like to create work that can exist outside of the category of what's Thai or what's not Thai, something that could live or work with an audience without delivering a narrative of what you do in Thai culture and so on. So how do you feel about that? That's this kind of dilemma.
Anyone? For me, from my work, I work in about, my issue is about death, life, and presence. So it's kind of universal. And I think, like, I don't need to explain much about that, because we can get the sense of the what was going on in the pictures. It's
Yeah, but I just gonna add to her a bit, because she's because Paul, you're doing work that's kind of like more in a communication arts in a way. So you have certain kind of language that's maybe more universal conceptually, comparing to maybe other artists.
yeah,
It's just only my
maybe.
comment. Yeah.
Yes, maybe working that way, because I work as an artist and an illustrator, because I have to get a brief from magazines or a pocketbook to interpret the stories. That's why I'm.
Yeah, you not carry that title with you somehow.
Yeah,
From what I
that's
see from your works. Yeah.
That's fine.
No, but I think all goes to every artist, you know. Like, I think it's just like our root, maybe. You know, I mean, if we didn't mean to, in some ways, to kind of like show it that clearly, that it's like that this is Thai, this is what we do. But I think, you know, we grew up, so in a way there would be like the sense of style hidden. But I think only for this exhibition that we're just trying to experiment with the reactions of the audience in London, and because it's a Southeast Asian festival, so and then we're like kind of
So
representing
more focused on
Thailand.
that.
That's why we try to focus on this is like kind of what we believe in. But I think goes for everyone here. If you, of course, we want to do something that is universal, but I think with some works that are personal, maybe I think I'm sure that everyone here is open up for any interpretation. Like for myself, my artworks is always like an open end anyway. Like they would ask me, what does it mean? I would say like, what do you think it means, you know? Yeah, so like for his work, it's very interesting how he puts all those ornaments there, and then we feel it differently because it's in London, you know? Because over, I'm telling you, like over there, like it's very sacred, and like we respect that, and sometimes even we're scared of it, you know? Yeah, so, yeah.
Honestly, I haven't been exhibit any piece of work back in Bangkok or in Thailand, and I usually use a very unique material that you only see in Thailand, but it would be very interesting for me. It's more like an experiment. I would love to put these objects and this kind of installation in the gallery space there, and I want to know the comments of people there, what they would think if they see the objects they're seeing in everyday life outside the gallery space, inside the gallery space.
Maybe last questions, I guess. No? All right, so maybe we can, I think it's also productive to actually keep on the conversation outside. We actually can, right now it's going to be another talk afterwards. So we can move to the garden, I guess, and then we'll have a beer and then maybe talk a little bit more if you like. And I think that's it. I think we, as a TAIL, Thai Art Initiative in London, actually want to thank everyone for coming. And then thank Southeast Asia Art Festival team for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.